Hello, hello, hello. Test, test, test. Got audio. Audio's good. What's so minimalist? What do you feel is minimalist? Oh, the Discord? Um, I'm not sure what you're referring to. Send me a message on Discord and we'll figure it out. I didn't mess with anyone's permissions on anything. Like, send me a screenshot of what you see now and then what you did see before. Or describe what you saw before. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We'll take a look at the Dixie. Monthly candle did not close the bearish engulfing we were looking for. We were looking for the bearish engulfing because we want the dollar to be going down to give us confidence in it going up. Unfortunately, it closed an inside candle, which means that, it was a candle inside the prior candle, right? Here's the boundary of the prior candle. It closed inside it. And it's currently sitting on macro support. Although we have our weekly cloud breakout, it is sitting on support, and it is still a point of uncertainty. Until we break this support, I'm reluctant to put much weight in this cloud breakout because this monthly chart, this thing's a dinosaur and moves. It takes forever to move, and I'd place a lot of weight on the monthly chart. And the fact that it's not breaking through just yet, I reserve judgment on a downward move on Dixie. Now, if May comes around and we get a close down here, great, cool, different discussion. But until we get a monthly close down here, it's kind of just flirting with the support, and not a whole lot is going on here. Dixie monthly chart failed to close the bearish engulfing, and we must wait for May to confirm macro weakness. The reason why I say confirm macro weakness is because at the moment, this could very much see weekly chop that does stuff like this, but then resolves itself by the end of the month and it comes back up. So to avoid any false signals on the weekly chart, we want to wait for the confidence of the monthly close. Now the setups are all there. It's set up for continuation to the downside. Just for added confidence, though, I want to see it breaking the support on the weekly, and then also closing below the support on the monthly. So I'll add that note there too. Weekly cloud is showing continuation signals, but we need to see it close below support to gain any sense of confidence in the continuation. Note, we want dollar weakness because why? Because everything is inverse dollar, right? We want dollar weakness because to gain, pretty much everything, right? Crypto, equities, metals, strength, i.e. a risk-on event, right? So pretty straightforward, nothing new on the Dixie. We do have this nice cloud twist dealio here, but like I said, we need to wait for when we're looking at a range that is almost a decade long, we can wait another month for confirmation that it's failed, right? Okay. So moving on, let's go to the Bitcoin charts, because that's what everyone actually gives a shit about. Bitcoin is kind of just doing this chop suey thing, right? And this C clamp on the daily is ever present. All right, so let's back things up. Let's go to the monthly chart first because we just closed a fresh monthly candle, and we can see that we opened it, and we are inside this cloud. Does that mean that we're going to just shit the bed? No, we have 27 days and 6 hours to get back above the cloud. And all we would need to do is see the monthly close above this 29,650 for it to be, provided support. And ideally, we'd like to see it run to this Kijun. That's terrible. We'd like to see it run to this Kijun, right? But right now, it is inside the cloud, and any red close of this month, that's not a good look for the monthly candles. We would, if it does close red, we would look for a retest of this this monthly 50 EMA, right? The monthly 50 EMA, we don't have a whole lot of price history with it, but if we look at something a little bit further back, like here, the monthly 50 EMA is actually a pretty good metric for bull markets and bear markets, right? It tends to be a place of accumulation, and anything below this is generally accumulation zones. So it would not surprise me to see us come back down here and retest this thing before continuing up. But we definitely don't want to see this thing closing back below the monthly 50 EMA. But we have a ton of time. So even if we see just absolute dog shit for the next 2 weeks, that doesn't mean anything until the candle closes. So let's say this thing just turbo nukes. Let's just do some stupid example, right? Let's assume this thing turbo nukes, right? It could easily do something like this, where it just wicks below, and then the next month, it provides support and it keeps going. So this monthly candle should be taken with a grain of salt. We have a ton of time left on it. But let's go ahead and add some notes here. So BTC, monthly. What do we want to say? Currently below the monthly cloud. Nothing to worry about just yet. We have a ton of time left to fix that. Where was the cloud level? So cloud level is, what did I say? Is 29,500. However, we definitely want to see it close above. I already forgot it. 29.5 above 29,500, because that is the boundary of the cloud. Also, make the note that failure to close back above the cloud, and we should target a retest of the monthly 50 EMA. Target is 24,650 at the moment, right? It's going to move a little bit, but 24,650. Now, this level is interesting for a whole host of reasons. When we look at the daily chart, that's pretty much the target of our C clamp, right? Currently, the target for the 50 EMA on the monthly is within striking distance of the C clamp target. And what we would need to see for confidence in a run to the C clamp target is a close below this Kijun. But make no mistake about it, this is about as perfect of a setup as we can expect from a Kijun. Like, maybe if it was, the only thing that would make this more perfect than it already is if this was completely flat. But this is flat, right? It just stair stepped up a little bit, and we can see we see this huge deviation from the Kijun, which is our mean reversion, or our general mean reversion metric. So Well, let's take a step back, right? So if we look at the weekly edge to edge, still in play. It is a little concerning that we did have two back-to-back dojis. Dojis are like this little plus sign kind of thing, and they don't necessarily mean the market is going to reverse, but it does mean that this is a visual representation of uncertainty, right? In general, the color of the doji doesn't really matter a whole lot. All we need to see is that it's like there was a lot of effort to push it up, there was a lot of effort to push it down, and at the end of the week, they kind of just stalemated. The bulls, represents like just a general stalemate between bulls and bears, and we've seen that for the last 2 weeks. But the cloud setup for the edge to edge is still there, so there is a bullish bias for the weekly trade. If you're trading weekly candles, weekly. We do see two back-to-back dojis that represent indecision, right? Dojis, again, they're not inherently bearish. They're not inherently bullish. It just means, hey, we're figuring our shit out and we're stalemating at the moment, right? We do see two back-to-back dojis that represent indecision. Essentially, the bulls and bears are at a stalemate. Yo, yo, yo. What's up? Got a couple of new people here. Welcome to the stream. What else do we want to say? Edge to edge is still valid, right? And it remains valid until we close back below the cloud. So any weekly close that is below this cloud invalidates this setup. But it's been holding rock steady, right? Like it's been very volatile, but at the end of the day, or at the end of the week rather, there's not a whole lot to show for all this effort up and down. It's kind of just flat, right? And we can see that when we look at like if we take away the candles and we just look at like a line chart, like it's just been flat, right? So I'll make a note there. Edge is still valid and remains valid until we get a close below the cloud. Below the cloud. Current level for the weekly cloud is, we'll just say 26,000. At $26,000. What else? Okay. Yeah, so let's take a look at the Bollinger Bands too. Bollinger Bands, I've talked about this for a couple of streams now. In general, when we see a quote unquote strong trend by the metrics of the B bands, we generally want to see it glued to this upper band. And we're not seeing that. We're seeing stabbing pushes into the band that either go sideways or, kind of droop back down. This is an example of a strong trend, right? Any little deviation that goes back inside this little zone here gets immediately reattached. It gets reattached. And you can see the more it deviates from this band, the weaker the trend is objectively, right? And so here's an example of a bullish trend, right? So it goes here, and you can see any little deviation that gets it back inside gets reattached, until ultimately it deviates greatly, and we see a mean reversion, right? It tries to reattach, mean reversion, and then here's the bear market, right? So this is objectively a sign of a weak trend or a potentially weakening trend. Now, if we get a weekly candle that reattaches on this upper band, that's great. Like that would be best case scenario, right? So a question from chat: the outer band means it's a strong trend. So there's this concept when using Bollinger Bands of quote unquote riding the bands, and I'll make a note on this. So in strong trends, we want to see the market riding the bands on the B bands. And that takes the form of just like consecutive closes that are just kind of just like latching onto it, right? There's no like hard and fast number where it's like, well, how fast does it, how much does it have to close above the B band? Does it have to close exactly on it? And no, it's more subjective than that. But it doesn't take a genius to see that there's a major difference between this and this, right? This is obviously favoring this band, and the more it favors the band, the stronger the trend. Does that make sense? However, on the weekly, cool. In general, when using Bollinger Bands, it's better to just use it as like use the higher level concepts with it, right? Especially when you're first learning Bollinger Bands, until you get used to these concepts, I generally don't recommend using reversal setups like M tops or W bottoms or three pushes to a high or things like that. Because it's easy to read too much into noise, and unless you really know what you're looking at, it can be confusing. But if you're looking at it from like just high level concepts, anytime we get a squeeze on the B bands, like we can see, like here, I've been using this example a lot, where the market comes in, we see this convergence of the bands, and then a subsequent expansion of the bands. Anytime we see an expansion of the bands following a squeeze, right here's the squeeze, boom. Anytime we see an expansion following the squeeze and the market is grabbing one of the bands, that is a continuation setup or a breakout setup for that matter. So we can look at different examples here, right? We see this massive squeeze here, and it latches onto the band and it rides it up until it goes sideways, and then, it kind of consolidates and does a bunch of noisy nonsense. But right now, it's had 3 opportunities to latch onto this band, and it hasn't done that. And that's concerning to me, right? We had this massive consolidation. We see this nice expansion of the bands. It even reconsolidated a little bit, but we see this big expansion, but we don't see the attachment on the bands that would be, usually associated with a strong trend. Now it can pick up the slack if it starts closing weekly candles here, but it's not looking like it wants to do that, right? So that gives me hesitation on this weekly setup. Also gives me hesitation that maybe this edge-to-edge play isn't actually going to play out. But anytime we have mixed signals like this, it's just better to be safe and not overextend yourself. Probably not the best area to be picking up. Probably not the best area in the market to be picking up long exposure. It'd probably be better to wait for a confirmation of a close on the band than just go long here and just hope that you're right. That's just not very risk averse. Okay, let's finish this note. So in strong trends, we want to see the market riding the bands on the B bands. However, on the weekly, we see 3 failed attempts to latch on to the bands following a massive squeeze. The massive squeeze is here, right? This is a very tight squeeze. This, I'll make a note here. Note, this isn't immediately concerning, but it does warrant skepticism. We'll say skepticism of the trend. Okay, what else? Okay. All right. Any questions about this Bollinger Band stuff? Or the cloud stuff? Oh, I'll add the target to the cloud. as is tradition. So cloud target, the edge to edge is here, right? The upper boundary, which is 43,450. 43,450. Now, if this thing, let's talk about mean reversion targets in terms of Bollinger Bands. If this thing does fail to latch on, right, like it just doesn't take and it pulls down, the target for this would just be a mean reversion to the midline. Currently, the midline is at 21.8, but this is a dynamic target and it will move week to week and it will continue to climb up as long as price is hanging out above it. So this all the midline is just the 20 period moving average. And right now it's currently seated at, let's say 21.8. If we fail to ride the bands on the weekly, we will look for a mean reversion to the midline. Target equals, I already forgot it. What did I say? 21,000. I'll just say 22K. 22,000. Was Doge looked at yet? No, I didn't look at Doge, but we can. We can once I wrap up the Bitcoin stuff. Now on the daily, it's kind of a bunch of mixed signals, and we have this the C clamp, right? C clamp is a huge indication that we're going to see a mean reversion to this Kijun. I mean, so you're starting to get the story here, right? There's a bunch of signals that are showing potential market weakness, and we're also seeing a setup that is pointing toward this zone here. We see multiple setups, right? We see the potential B bands mean reversion. We see, what did I say? The monthly 50 EMA, right? There's a lot of things pointing us to this zone. So at minimum, this seems appropriate if we fail to break up. But like I said, this is a period of indecision. We see a bunch of weekly dojis. We see a failure to grab onto the upper boundary of the trend. And this Kijun is the target of that C clamp. So daily C clamp target is still valid. Target equals 24,400. And it's failed to break there many times, though. Failed to break where? C clamp works on daily. C clamp works on every time frame. Now, if you do start using lower time frame cloud, you have to adjust your settings. But yeah, daily settings is fine. The level around 28,000. I mean, it's broken it many times, and it wouldn't take much more to break it. I'll also add this note. If we get a close below this Tenkan at 27,850. Oops. Note. This becomes a very strong possibility if we close below the daily Tenkan at 27,850. Right, so if we get a daily close here, a daily close below here. If we get a daily close below the Tenkan, we'd be looking for this. That would be like the canary in the coal mine, right? That'd be like the early warning sign that this is going to be happening. What else do we want to say about this? Oh, B bands are also very consolidated here, right? So if we look at just the daily B bands, they're very tightly consolidated. We can see the obvious squeeze. Let me get a cleaner chart here. We see the obvious squeeze, right? Just like we had one here. Just like we had one here. Now we're starting to get one here. And the more tightly consolidated these B bands become, you can think of it like a spring, right? The more you press down on a spring, the harder it reacts. So the more tightly consolidated this gets, the more explosive the move is going to be in whatever direction. So if we do something like close below the daily Kijun at our, what did I say, 27,850, and we get a close below this midline, this just like, these are all just symptoms of a mean reversion in our future, right? Is that a definite? No. It could possibly just be like, fuck all your setups and go up? Yeah, of course. But we need objective metrics that will tell us when we're wrong. And the objective metric for the B bands on the daily is going to be a squeeze that leads into a move to the upside that attaches to this upper band. So something like this, right? Or squeeze that then attaches right here. So I'll say this. How do we know when the mean reversion slash by the dip moment? How do I want to word this? How do we know when the mean reversion by the dip moment isn't coming? When we see daily candles, well, also daily and weekly, right? Daily / weekly candles reattach to the upper band. The daily B bands are already consolidated, right? The daily B bands are already consolidated. We just need to see a strong move and close to the upside that reattaches to the band, i.e. rides the bands, right? Okay. What else? Any questions about this? I know a lot of people want to look at the Doge stuff. Apparently, Elon changed his Twitter, made the Twitter logo into Dogecoin's logo. Dude, that guy never ceases to amaze me at how much he will manipulate this market. It's crazy. All right. Any questions about this, or can we move on to the Doge stuff? Oh, I do want to make a comment about this this market cap, the Bitcoin dominance chart. There's a humongous C clamp here, and Bitcoin dominance can drop down while Bitcoin price stays flat, and that if these two things happen, that is ripe conditions for an alt season. So maybe we don't break up, we don't break down at all on Bitcoin. We just stay horizontal for an uncomfortable amount of time. Bitcoin dominance drops and altcoins just go through the roof. Maybe that happens, right? And this C clamp on Bitcoin dominance would support that idea, right? Especially because we're at the top of this massive range, right? All right, let's go look at Doge. So Doge has been near the bottom of this range. Well, thanks for the gifted sub, Nook. Doge has been at the bottom of this range, and it looks like it's kind of like breaking out of this little downtrend. But in order to confirm that, we would need to see it close, right? This could just be a fake out that goes down. But it is kind of breaking out of this like little local downtrend slash channel. Boom, something like that. You know, not the cleanest channel, but it is there. And it looks like it's breaking it to the downside. Now, where is it going? Let's look at some trend metrics to get an idea. Now, if it closes, so it's, you know, the weekly candle just opened, but if we get a close inside this weekly candle, it would have a really clean edge to edge setup. And Doge has a tendency to just go absolutely ape shit in 1 week's time span. I mean, like look at past, right? So totally possible this thing closes a weekly candle and just nukes it straight upward. Well, like reverse nukes, I guess. Just sends it soaring upward, right? But this edge to edge won't be valid until the weekly candle closes. But it seems very logical that if this thing really gets going, it would easily take out this prior high. And what it does from there just remains to be seen. Maybe it comes up and comes down. Maybe it comes up and breaks out and keeps going, or it just goes absolutely through the roof indefinitely, right? We'd have to play it by ear, but right now it's looking pretty promising, at least on the daily chart. It is kind of slapping into this 600 EMA though. It took out the prior high and it's already wicking back below it. So maybe that's all the juice it gets. But I wonder why Elon changed the Twitter logo like that. I wonder if there's something he's involved in. Have you guys heard anything? Is there like any news or something? Doge tips is the rumor. Oh, on Twitter? Oh, that'd be cool. I don't know why they would use Doge though. Why would they use Doge? Can Doge even support that? Like, does it have the infrastructure to support something like that? I don't know enough about like, you know, its inner workings. Doge used to be just a meme coin. It used to just be a straight up meme. This minute chart is nuts. How much is this up? This is up 33%, 25% at current price. Jesus. This market is so stupid sometimes. Okay. It's 10 cents. What do you mean it's 10 cents? Up from 1,000th of a cent. What are you talking about? It was 7 cents this morning. It's only up 25%. Only. It's only up 25%. And I guess if you're looking at like the all-time low, yeah, sure. Like, that'd be such a blue ball though for everyone if this is all it got. It just came up here and just did this little. What do the B bands look like? Okay, so this is interesting, right? It's got a really tight squeeze. If this thing closes up here, I mean, maybe it just runs and just goes absolutely ape shit. But Doge doesn't tend to like trend in a conventional sense where it like does things like this. It's just either like straight up, sideways, and then down, or it's like just does nothing for long periods of time. So, like even when we look at the past, like it didn't like ride the bands; it just nuked straight upward, went back in, up. You know what I mean? Um, any other altcoins you guys want to look at? Throw them at me. We'll take a look. Looks like Bitcoin's getting a little bit of a pop on this too. Have I tried Awesome Oscillator? No, I have not tried the Awesome Oscillator. Get a little bit of a pop. All right, INJ USDT. Okay. So right off the bat, I can see this thing. You know, this should be very clear to you that it's riding the bands, right? This is a very strong trend to the upside. These are weekly candles. Daily is very much more the same, right? So we had this nice squeeze, and we got this attachment of the band. This thing looks like it has legs, especially considering it's following this like, you know, this megaphone dealio, and it looks like it's actually breaking out of it. A daily close up here would be sick for INJ. Ether. Let's go with ETHUSD. So it looks like what I was saying is starting to happen, right? So like with the Bitcoin dominance, it looks like some alts are starting to pop, and Ether looks like it's ripe to pop. It's current. I mean, we still have several hours left on the daily candle, but it's currently situated at a bullish engulfing. So maybe we see some alts run, man. I mean, that would make a lot of sense right now. With this Bitcoin, where'd my Bitcoin dominance chart go? With this Bitcoin dominance chart, it's a huge mean reversion here to the Kijun. And I think this would give the green light for a lot of things to finally run, because, you know, most coins didn't mark up when Bitcoin was seeing its leg up. Like, most coins didn't mark up as high, which is why we see this massive uptick in Bitcoin dominance, right? This just means that Bitcoin's outpacing everything else. And now we're at the top of a range. So maybe Bitcoin cools off here and everything else runs. You know, maybe that's the case. And maybe Ether does more of the same. We see this really, really nice squeeze here. Again, I sound like a broken record at this point. Wait for the attach to the upper band, and that'll be a very strong confirmation that a new trend is about to emerge. You know, maybe something like this. Or boom, something like that, right? I don't, so to the person who asked about the Awesome Oscillator, I don't use a whole lot of indicators. I only use I only really use RSI sparingly, and I use B bands. I don't really consider EMAs and Ichimoku Cloud to be indicators. I think I consider those more of like just trend data rather than it being like some sort of oscillator, right? B bands kind of is a little bit of both, and RSI is obviously an oscillator. But I don't use a whole lot of stuff. My trade strategy is very simple, and I'm pretty reluctant at this point to add things to it. All right, what else do you guys want to look at? In traditional markets, NASDAQ is set up for a really good edge to edge, right? Last week closed inside the cloud. We still have some good meat left on the bone here. Yeah, Yeah, that'd be sick if this thing broke out. So if this thing does show strength, of course that's going to correspond with the dollar weakness. So if we see the dollar starting to just drip down on the weekly, then we're going to see stuff break out. We're going to see QQ, triple Q breakout. We're going to see the S&P breakout, right? Like we have all these things set up. Like the S&P 500 has just drilled this level so many times. And how much more can it take? Like if we flip this thing upside down, it looks like a head and shoulders, right? Right side up, it looks like kind of like a head and shoulders bottom-ish. It's not the cleanest neckline, but like, the anatomy's there. We got 2 shoulders, a head, 2 shoulders. If we get a close back above here, I would be surprised if it closed up here and didn't just take off. And again, that's going to correspond, that's going to come close to the dollar showing weakness. If you don't mind answering, you trade for a living or do other things? No, I don't trade for a living. I mean, I do trade, but it's not like what I live off of. No. I have a degree in engineering that I make use of. A trust funder? Definitely not a trust funder. All right, what other coins you guys want to look at? Oh, let's look at gold too. Gold and silver have been looking really, really, really good. So the monthly on gold closed above this crucial. That's weekly. Where's monthly? Monthly closed a. It was. I did. What's funny is I didn't check on it on the weekly close, and it was like just above it, and I guess it sold off right at the last second. So it almost closed a new monthly high. Didn't quite get there. It sold off at the last minute, but it did close this massive bullish engulfing candle, and that is a strong continuation signal, and it did so in really high volume. So I think gold is it's about to go into a massive bull market, and these are monthly candles, and this is a huge cup and handle. If this thing marks up, I think it's going to be something like a 5 to 10 year bull market in gold. And of course, like I was saying, it's going to correspond with dollar weakness. Same story on silver. Humongous bullish engulfing candle on silver. Not quite hammering levels like gold is doing, but baby steps. Silver does tend to lag. It does tend to lag gold, so it just kind of waits for the nod from gold to be like, "Are we doing this? We're doing this. Okay, cool." And then we'll see these massive moves on silver, like here, for example, right? So it doesn't have the length of the bull market that gold does, but when it moves, and it looks like it's ready to move. Can I look at JPM? Sure. JPM. You talking about the stock? You're talking about some random crypto. Stock? Yeah, so right now it's it did have a little bit of a sign of weakness on the monthly chart when we had this cross here, this TK cross. But it's still above the cloud, and it doesn't actually look bad. Like it's finding support on the 50 EMA. It's finding support on the 50 EMA here after losing it, and it reclaimed it. If JPM gets a little bit of a leg up, and we see the TK cross and then recross, this is a huge continuation signal. And these are monthly candles, so this isn't something that's going to happen overnight, but this thing could set up for a disgusting continuation, and it's already up big time, right? I think a lot of people were expecting this COVID low to get taken out, and it doesn't look like we're going to, if I'm being honest with you. The time to do it was going to be late last year or mid last year, and it just didn't happen. Um, but yeah, JPM looks really strong on the monthly chart. Weekly, it's like still figuring its shit out. But again, these are stocks, so we can need to look at really high time frames. And when we look at the quarterly chart, it's like what bear market, right? Sorry, big sneeze. But yeah, the quarterly chart just it's like laughing at the idea of a bear market. It's just bulls on bulls. Can I look at GR40? Thank you. Thank you for blessing me. So this index doesn't look bad either. So this is a weekly chart. Daily. Yeah. So here's an example of the cross recross, right? So we see the cross, and this isn't common that it does this, but it kind of just like overlaid on top of it, and then we see the recross here. Here's a cross and a recross, and that's a strong continuation signal. So this thing looks, and these are daily. This is the daily chart, by the way. So this looks like it's ready to go, and it keeps slamming into this upper resistance too. And when we look at the weekly chart, maybe something like that. It just keeps hammering this thing. And resistance only lasts so long before it pops. And when it pops, I think this thing's probably just going to let loose. But it looks really good. Currently sitting at resistance, so generally not the best time to be getting long exposure to something when you're sitting at resistance. But, this looks like a strong trend, no doubt about it. You want to look at NIO? What is this? This looks like trash. This looks like a shit coin. It's just nothing but down with a whole lot of space below it. Yeah, this NIO chart doesn't look good. Sorry, but it's most likely going to retrace this whole move up. If I had to guess. All right. Anything else you guys want to look at? Their overall market though is like it's at a tipping point, right? It's waiting for the dollar just to give it up. And once it does, everything's going to run. But we're at this weird spot where it's like maybe it doesn't. Maybe it bounces. Maybe the dollar does something like this, and before it just gives it up, it bounces one more time, right? Or it bounces and bounces, something like that. Like that's all totally possible. So there's a lot of juice to squeeze out of both crypto markets and equities and metals for that matter. I see no rush to get there in a day, right? This dollar index is going to give you plenty of confirmation that you're going to have months and months of up only. But I would just wait for the confirmation. Want to look at oil? Which ticker do you want to look at? There's multiple oil tickers. What the fuck is this? Um, So oil looks bearish. I mean, it's breaking through the cloud. This is textbook bear market activity on oil. It's even coming up and getting this little tap on the weekly 50 EMA. You know? So, yeah, it looks bearish. It broke through this cloud, and it's just trending downward. Not a whole lot else to say about it. I mean, it obviously a gap up today, but this is an otherwise bearish trend. All right. Anything else before we wrap it up? We'll keep it short and sweet. This crypto market's been incredibly boring. It's just been in that trading range and not doing a whole lot of anything. You know, we have our conditions though, right? We know where it's going if it goes down. We know where it's going if it goes up. It's kind of just a wait and see thing at the moment, right? There's no need to sit here and beat a dead horse talking about nothing. All right, we'll go ahead and wrap it up then. Again, I'll post these notes in the Discord. If you want a link to the Discord, here it is. You can always access it with the bot. I updated this one. It should not expire. And if you're interested in joining the trading group, which is a subsection of the Discord, you're more than welcome to. And it's just, there's an application that's involved with it, and it is, it does come with a premium. It's not free. But the other stuff, like my content, my videos, my tweets, the stream notes, those are all posted in the free section, and you're more than welcome to join and come hang out. But we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Not a whole lot else to say. And we'll pick it back up on Wednesday. On Wednesday, we'll be doing not a normal stream, but it'll be on CryptoJack's stream, and it'll be our crypto market power hour super stream with me, Jack, and Josh Olszewicz, aka Carpe Noctem, and it'll be the Justice League of streamers. So that'll be a good time, and that'll be at 2:00 Eastern time on Wednesday, and I'm sure you'll get your Twitter feed inundated with notifications. So keep an eye out for that. But other than that, I'll be around. So just ping me if you need me, and we'll end it here. Have a good week, guys.